Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you're lucky enough to be doing it to. I'm Bushka on Blitz, and welcome back to channel. Today we're going to be having a look at the Tier 7 Chinese medium tank, the T-34-1, which is really the first unique tank in the tree, and this is going to be our first standalone review. We haven't done another review on a single solitary Chinese tank just yet. We did a line overview, but that doesn't really count, does it, trendsetters? We're going to be looking at this tank, and I give it a big thumbs up. I think it's probably the best tank in the tree. I honestly do. It is the best tank in the tree. And I'm going to get to why. I'm going to tell you all about it. But first, if you have been sleeping under a rock, we've been giving away a Tier 5 tank every single stream of late. And that's been great. We're getting up over 500 people in a couple of the streams at the moment. We're doing regular streams on 8 p.m. Wednesday night for Europe. If you're around on channel at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday night Central European time, you'll catch us. And 5:30 p.m. East Coast, 8:30 p.m. West Coast on a Sunday and a Thursday for North Americans. So get that, wrap your laughing gear around it, and enjoy yourselves. Now, the 34-1 for me has really salvaged what otherwise was a little bit of a disappointing line addition. I've got to say, though, I can understand where wargaming is coming from with a lot of the ways, with a lot of the tanks they're introducing, where they're coming in and they're not coming in red hot like an Exocet missile like they used to, where they were just basically overpowered tanks and then they'd balance them down from there. They've learned a lot from their mistakes, and they are bringing in tanks that err on the cautious side of balance. And for that, you've got to salute them, but for all that, you don't have to drive them. After giving them a rap, still won't drive the 121. I think it's a god-awful tank, and I will get to a review of it eventually, because you just need to know, really, and that's what we're going to go and do. Now, why I like the 34-1? Well, all the other Chinese meds at the 8, the 9, the 10 mark, they have the bigger alpha guns, like the 34-1 does. It's really got a big alpha gun for its tier. But it doesn't go so far down the rabbit hole with regards to crap DPM that it becomes impossible to maintain your own in a brawling situation or when you're pushed on. Indeed, I mean, there's tanks at tier 10 with regards to like the 121, for instance, like the T62A, that have 3600 DPM versus 2478, which is 30% more DPM at a tier where DPM is really, really important. The 34-1 has basically the same damage per minute numbers as the Drac. And it's got a lot more to hang its hat on in terms of armour than most other tanks at this tier. And I'm going to do that straight off the bat. I'm going to talk about the special feature on this tank. There's two, in fact. Well, there's three, in fact. The camo is spectacular. The turret armour is fantastic. And the gun is pretty special too. Now, that is the tank as seen from the Comet or the LTTB in Armour Inspector above, and you can see even firing APCR, there is an awful lot of that tank that is red. And that is the 34-1. I'm going to show you this video, then I'm going to show you a video of me actually doing this in a game. Now, you'll note how heavy my angle is. Now, it's actually 55 degrees. That's so against the grain of the standard Chinese/Russian medium tank. You nearly angle up sideways as you come up that little incline there, because the upper glacis on this tank, while it's not amazingly well armored, it's very, very steep, and it's very, very close to the bottom of the turret. So it's not so much a long slope down like it is with the 121, which is far more standard in terms of a Russian tank's medium profile, or a Chinese tank's like a Type 59's medium armor profile. You can see that upper glacis there. It's very long and sloping away. What that means with a tank like the T-34-1 is you can poke out very, very quickly. And you don't have to lead with your long nose, the long nose of the tank. You can more or less just drive forward very sharply, shoot and pull back. And because you're so low to the ground and you're such a small tank, and you have, look at the side of that tank. Look how far out you have to come out if you're coming out at the same angle as a 34-1. Because your turret is straight over the front drive wheel just about, you're able to really do some amazing things. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. This is the lurver down there. He's on the other side of the the hill there. You've only got 6 degrees of gun depression, so you can't really go crazy. But you don't need a lot more than that in terms of gun depression. But you are so low to the ground, and you are such a difficult pen. You can really, really exploit the size of this tank. Like, look at it. You are barely peeking over the top of that railing, and that lurver is struggling to actually get the gun down and fire between that little gap and stay on target. And we're just showing him an incredibly strong turret. And that turret is bamboozling him. And he's sitting there aiming in, trying to get shots off. And the rest of the team comes around the corner and basically screws him. And he'd gone to HE by the time the team came around there because he could not pen with AP or APCR. Or at least not reliably, as I jerked back and forward and created a whole heap of issues. I'm going to show you just how crazy effective the turret is in a sec. Have a look at this Tiger 1, for instance. I'm screwed. There are 6 of the red tanks left. That's a Tiger 1. He has 2,700 DPM. That's about 600 more DPM than I've got. I'm going to face hug him. Now, I actually pull back here because I'm thinking I might be able to sneak in a shot in between rounds on the target up on the top left. I think there's a Drac or a stubborn Emil there, and maybe save my AT7. But he just can't get the gun down far enough. But the Emil pulls back and the AT7 takes him out anyway. He just can't get the gun far enough down to reliably hit my turret that I'm moving around and just banging and smanging with. It's great fun. It's good. Let's have a look again on Dynasty Pearl at that position that I was talking about earlier. Now you can see the turret is so close to the front of the tank. And the way spotting mechanics work, that's really cool too, because it allows you to poke out sideways very quickly, spot a target with like your viewport or you know, the top of the hatch there, which is a spotting line, or, you know, your gun mantlet, and pop back. And I'm going to show you how I really exploit the low profile and strong turret armor of this rock god of a tank to really screw over this flank of the enemy team. Now, it is a tier 8 game, admittedly, so you'd think that's not how you do it, by the way. You don't just go gallivanting across the hill and expose your entire side, because your armor profile is pretty crap apart from your turret. What you want to do is just peek and poke and then go back. Not being able to be seen is a massive benefit to not getting hit. And I am leveraging that into constant shots. I've yet to take a shot, and I'm pretty much getting whatever shot I want. Now, this Vindicator wants to push up on me. I'm going to hit him in the side. I know he's got no side armor. I can overmatch any side armor he pops up there if I use my APCR, no problem at all. And I'm just going to stay. He's got a really slow gun. He wants to push up. He's going to have to come across the field to get me, right? So he's screwed. He just can't do it. And he's still tunneling down there, waiting for me to make a mistake. And as you saw before when I was popping up to the LTTB in this tank, it's just not possible. And we're just going to hit him in the side armor again, overmatch it, blow him up. Thanks very much. You can pop out and you don't really expose anything of your tank. And it's incredibly hard for them to get shots off when you're doing this. Like, the thing is lower than a snake's bumhole. It's closer to the ground than a snake's bumhole. Look at it. And this 69 is going to push up on me, and I'm just going to pull right back here and make him drive across in front of the gun to actually hit me. And he can't get the gun down far enough anyway, because I am just like a little water bug. And then we roll out again and we start doing the same thing all over to the 62 Dragon. It's amazing to me how many people kind of try and play all mediums and lights the same. And this thing is special. It's really special. I know how special it is. I have had quite a few big games in this tank. I've never got a mastery. And it's just an incredibly difficult tank to crack a mastery in, because the armor profile is superb, but we haven't even started talking about the gun yet. And this is one of the things that I think Wargaming has done spectacularly well with this tank. It's running a gun called the 100mm 44-100 JT. Now, it's not called the same thing, but if you look at the gun on the T44, the 100, not the 122mm Bushka, I'm having a look at Tank Compare at the moment, and that is not the gun I want. If you have a look at the 100mm LB-1, that's pretty much the same gun you're going to be running here on the 34-1. It's got the same pen numbers, very much the same DPM to within a margin of error of 3%. the only thing you're really missing here is 1 degree of gun depression and a bit of dispersion. Like, your dispersion is 0.38, which isn't amazing, but at the same time, that's pretty freaking nice when you are hull down and doing the business. Your aim time is 3.9 seconds. So what you're looking at is a tank that has the same gun as a tier 8 medium that's a very successful tank. Very, very good camo, very, very low profile, and an outstanding armor system if you can get it in hull down positions, like I am here. Well, boys and girls, humans, hippies, earthlings, that is a recipe for success as far as I'm concerned. And I've had nothing but fun, joy, and frivolity driving this thing. Now you can see I'm sideways there. I nearly got away with pulling back fast enough to actually not get hit by that LTTTB. LTTTB. Excellent. Look at how low I am. Like, I'm just peeking over the top of that tiny little berm. There's a Vindicator again. No side armor. Thank you very much for coming. I missed it. Just completely flat out missed it. Just a muppet. Anyway, long story short, I missed it. And we're down there into the 62. And we're just in this tiny little depression in the ground. And even when we go around here, it's very hard for anyone who is not over the top of that rise to actually hit us. The thing's just spectacularly low to the ground. That's an SP1C. And we're well under the SP1C, right? We are absolutely tiny. It's also notable that there are no hard stats I can find on the camouflage numbers, but I've been pretty happy, regardless of the tank I've driven at 7, 8, 9 and 10 in the Chinese line with the camouflage. I've found it to be exemplary. And that was a bit of a surprise to me because I thought they'd probably be a bit dodgier because they were carrying bigger guns than the Russian mediums, but they seem to be right on par with the 140s and the T62As of this world, which is really good camo. Even with this one, maybe a little bit better. So I like the tank. You've seen very, very good examples of what it does and why it does it. Let's talk a little bit about the numbers. Its mobility is just grand, hey? It's just grand. And the fact that it packs a 280 alpha round at a tier where that is pretty much unheard of for a medium tank anyway, is very special. You'll get your 225 alphas and such, but to have a 280 alpha round at this tier means your peekaboo is legitimately something to be feared, and you can grind damage up very, very quickly with steady, consistent play. That's exciting for me because it gives it a real role and it slots it directly into a part of the tier that didn't exist before. And I think that's what everyone was hoping for, like with the 121, to get that big alpha dose, but it really doesn't. It's just got 50 more alpha at a tier where it's not that important, and it gives up everything else to get it. This tank has enough alpha to be competitive in a brawl and to deal with people that push up on it, and yet it still manages to maintain a lovely sense of unique playstyle. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about right here. I'm going to be steady and strong with this tank. I'm going to try to hold this flank, this area. I'm not going to give up hit points stupidly, and hopefully I'm going to be able to get the job done. Now, I will admit, I was looking for a big game in this tank, so I was always going to play it aggressively here. And that's one of the things that I do tend to do anyway. I play pretty aggressively. Like, it's just all there is to it, because if you're not being aggressive and you are a reasonably good facsimile of a solid player, then you're oftentimes letting a lot of the players on the other team who are just really YOLOing hit point traders, letting them off easy, right? And you'd forgive me for thinking that I'd kick someone's dog at the start here when I miss a couple of shots that really did feel like RNGesus was just trying to screw with my mind. But we come good, I promise. Now you can see there's 3 of us here. There's a fair push on the northern part of the map, but we've got some big alpha guns in front of us, and our T21 just decides to drive out in front of everyone. Now, that's a light tank going hull down with no armor versus a KV2, a Hellcat, and there's something else up there as well. there's that alpha, lovely dose of alpha again. We're keeping the T-21's burning carcass between us and the Hellcat, which is all to the good, and only really letting them see our strong turret. And there you go. I think he HE'd my turret there. 120 damage is not a whole hell of a lot to be dealing with. Might actually have been a low roll on a premium ammunition round, though, for the Hellcat. He pops out. Give him one. Back up. Only showing that very, very strong armor. Again, there's a 152 there. And a Jagdpanzer 4. And people... We're now 3 on 6. Which is not good numbers. In case you're doing the maths, 2 on 6 now is, in fact, pretty rough. And the Su-152 wants to push up on me. Now, I don't know why people do that either, but there you go. They do. He figures that he can just get the kill and roll out, but we have a lovely dose of alpha, and if we can just get one nice high roll, and we do, we clear him. So we're bringing things back to the good. That Hellcat's pushing in. He's thinking the same thing. 261 is well within the range of the alpha on this gun, and all of a sudden it's 2 on 3. Happy days, everyone's a winner. And we're holding this great little spot here. Now, 6 degrees of gun depression is not huge, right? Admittedly. But it's enough, you know? It's enough to get the job done. And it's also easier to use that 6 degrees of gun depression when you've got next to no front end. Think of it like this. The further back your gun is from the front drive wheel of your tank, the harder it is to get it down. And that's not the case with this tank, because your gun is actually very, very much front and center on the tank. Now here we go. We're still wondering where that Jagdpanzer 4 is, and suddenly we're in the middle of trouble. The VK3002M is there. Jag 4 is over there. Things are looking tough. Got to clear this bloke down here. We're pushing forward. We've got the alpha for it. We just need to get a shot on him. I'm happy to take one back. We've just got to clear him. Now I've got to get round there and help my 3002M buddy with his Vindicator. And that Jagdpanzer, in case you haven't figured it out now, has actually AFK'd. I don't know this at the time. And I'm just going to hit the side armor again. And very unhappy there to bounce that one. I was thinking he was going to push across into the VK30, but he doesn't. So I'm going to go around there. I'm still worried about where that Jag's coming from. He's not popping out yet, so we're going to make hay with this VK30 with the Vindicator. 3002M drove kind of in front of him, which is a worry. And now I'm thinking, okay, if I can find the Jag, I can get up there and I can hopefully COD him before the Vindicator gets back. Lo and behold, the Jag's not moved, which is great news for me, because otherwise I would be completely screwed. So we take him out, all well and good. Knock out his commander's optics. Good on you, mate. Take his commander's binoculars off him. And now we're just waiting for the Vindicator. 1 minute 30 left to go. And we have, let's be honest, stood up to be counted in this game. This wonderful little tank, the 34-1. And now we've just got to try and deal with this bloke in the UM. So we get a bounce off another part of the tank that is usually a pretty easy pen. And we're looking to get shots into the side. Now, for those of you who don't know why I'm doing that, the Vindicator basically has no armor on its sides about the midsection. And if you can give shots into that area there, you're going to pen 90% of the time. I've run out of AP rounds. That's how many shots I've bloody well fired in this thing. And even though it doesn't have a crazy rate of fire, every 8 seconds is enough for this Vindicator to be in all kinds of strife if I get behind him. He won't get a lot of opportunities to actually get it done. We're saving our adrenaline for an important moment when we're probably going to need it, and I figure that's about now. That is all you need. There we go. Hit the adrenaline. Get around. Just got to get around. This has got to get the shot in. There it is. Oh, yes, please, Dorothy. Whew. That's 5 kills. No Kolobanovsky there. The 3002M did hang around for me at the end, but to be honest, we did pretty much all the damage on the team. 4,136, and it's good enough for a first class. 1,308 XP at tier 7. High caliber, top gun, 5 kills. Good enough for a first class. This tank is something special, and you're going to find a lot of really big numbers out there if you're looking for a mastery in this thing. I was talking to Irma Bex, a good mate of mine in the contributor channel, and Irma was running like, I think, a couple of 4.5, 5K games, something crazy. Didn't get a mastery in it. And it was like, wow, there are some big numbers out there on the 34-1. Hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you stick around, guys. There's a lot going on channel. I'm doing a lot of kind of thought pieces on playstyles and tactics. And I'm going to start digging deep again into a few of the reviews that I've missed from the China line and some of the other ones that aren't the tier 10s. I love having you on board with me. I really appreciate the support, and keep turning up for the live streams and being a great giggle, because I do enjoy it. Until next time, guys, look after yourselves and stay safe on the battlefield.